YouTube, welcome to the top 16 of the Meta Weekly. Every single week, we are here to be top tier. We are right before potentially the release of Ryzeal. So if you're sick of Maliss, that's all coming to an end by next week on the pack release day. We're gonna have a tournament on Twitch and on YouTube, a little bit on YouTube. By watching as long as you can, that greatly supports this stream and YouTube. Hajime.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
Dormouse, Imperm, Negate. Can't use Triple Tactics talent, but convince me on the sign-up. I mean, I guess we could just search for a March Hare. We also have Gold Sark here. I've been talking about this. Bluff the MTP. Bluff a GWC. GWC can't really bluff because there needs to be a banished card or engraved to even activate it. But if you bluff an MTP, they will think twice about using the impermanence. Now, that didn't affect Mitchell. We still use the Imperm. Let's now Gold Sark banish in the deck, our March Hare. Now, I have not seen this happen yet in a tournament, but we are in the scenario for this to happen, and that is the Code of Soul play. During your opponent's main phase, you could banish this card to immediately, after this resolves, link summon into a Cryptor using your field. That is crazy. So you have a non-target banish of the Cryptor. We have 2 monster negates with the Apollo. We have bounce back multiple monsters from the field or graveyard from either field, either graveyard back to the hand. And we also have the MTP, non-target banish. We have the Nibiru, tribute off the field. Do we want to count the Lingaribo as a form of disruption? Well, it possibly is within the mirror match, as it could turn off the GWC. So I'll call it 7. Let's see. GWC, Reborn, the White Binder. White Binder on summons going to banish from our own graveyard, as we're now going to be triggering the Red Ransom, summon alongside the Firewall Dragon to give us triple bounce. We're ready to bounce that Dormouse back. As we banish a March Hare from the deck, Red Ransom, also triggering to search, White Rabbit. I would encourage you on the opponent's turn, it's something you got to be really mindful of. Don't chain link block the ransom. I let them ash it. If this eats ash, it wants to eat the ash because then your MTP does not get negated by ash. Now you could argue you're playing against a bad player if they ash this, but you should always be setting up your opponent to make a mistake. March Hare and back. As we set up our MTP, non-target banish, we are ready. We have another Maliss on the underground ready for the next turn. We're going to non-target banish right now. Banish away the White Rabbit, search for a White Rabbit to banish away the Baldrake. As we now Firewall Dragon, return the Dormouse back, returning our Splash Mage and Chessie and Grave back. We now have the Code of Soul in the main phase going into a Cryptor. What? Abdullah, you're trolling. Why you do that? What? Linking off the Apollo into a Cryptor, and you get a warning for BM. Let's hop into game 2. Lancia in the draw phase, as we should do. Call by the Grave, negate the Lancia. Now we have full combo, uninterrupted with Dormouse. Let's properly play this out. Properly playing this out is making sure we do not summon 5 times under a potential Nibiru before setting up the Link Decoder into a Red Ransom. So you want 4 summons before the Red Ransom or less. We're going to banish in the deck, a Chessie. Chessie come forth, we're on summon number 3, banish, draw 2, summon number 4, and then we go into Red Ransom. If they ever do 5 summons and there's a Link Decoder in the field, just nib them. Red Ransom, chain link block with Link Decoder. Now, what is the usage and win rate of the terahertz? Is it win more, which, if you don't understand the term win more, it's supposed to mean that you are going to win more a duel that you're already going to win. Thus, win more is not good because it actually equates to lose more. But does the data actually show that? Let's see. So So we type Maliss and win rate. It is not there, unfortunately. But if we go to usage, Maliss is at 42% usage. We have the TB11 at 34%. This is the highest rank of Master Duel officially by Konami. And then we have Terra at 31%. This is going to be mostly Maliss, but there could be some Mathmech users also using this. That could be in the equation. And if we look at win rate when summoned, the White Binder is 75% win rate. But if we play Terahertz, it's 78% win rate. So by winning more, we are winning 3% more duels by playing Terahertz. That is the Terahertz difference. And then, of course, it's not showing any duels you're losing because you're missing out on spots in your extra deck. Now, what is so good about the Terahertz? Well, in the mirror match, if you play Packbit, oh my cheese, you're about to blow them out. Do we play the Packbit? We do. Packbit will push a Dormouse on the field into the back row. Well, you got to think, how many extenders are they playing? They're playing cards like March Hare, Bestial. Well, they can't Bestial or March Hare banish the Dormouse if the Packbit just pushes the Dormouse into the back row, completely clapping up the duel. So in addition to the Packbit blowout, we also have Deceive Worm, which can negate a spell or trap card. We have Double Monster Negate with the Apollo. We have an MTP, non-target banish. We have a Baldrake, which can banish the extra deck and from the grave. We have about 7 forms of disruption, plus the Cross-Out Designate, which can banish a Dormouse and negate a Dormouse. We're now at 8 forms of disruption. We have no Cryptor in circulation, right? No Cryptor. Do we cross out? No, we just Apollo. Negate. There is a situation here with double triple tactics talent. If you were to activate this against a Baron de Fleur, well, it states that you can only activate 1 per turn. If Baron de Fleur negates the activation, we could then activate the other triple tactics talent. So we want to know, does Deceive Worm negate the activation? Very important. Well, it states that you could negate the activation, thus double triple tactics talent is coming through. We're at 6 disruption left. We're at 8, then 7, then 6. Packbit push the Dormouse back. And exactly what we foretold, Deceive Worm negating the triple tactics talent will ensure we can now activate the second copy mate. Come to me. Take control of your Terahertz. Now, Terahertz is going to get boosted by 2,500 attack within the battle phase, and it negates any other monster effect within the battle phase, so we have lethal damage over the Apollo USA, but the Mouse and Underground states that while you control a Mouse Link monster, your opponent can only target Mouse Link monsters for attacks. Oh my Jesus, what's going to happen here? We're going to White Binder, Reborn back after being banished by the March Hare, banished from our own graveyard. We're now going to Red Ransom for the Reborn. The White Rabbit is going to be able to set up an MTP. MTP will then just banish away the Terahertz before we even make it to the battle phase. Red Ransom searching for a Mouse and Underground for the next turn. Summon back. And what I was saying to do, we did do correctly. We didn't chain link block the Red Ransom so they can potentially try to Ash it. We have Terahertz, but boosting up to over 10,000 attack. 10,050. More than enough for lethal, but the MTP will deal with it, unfortunately. Unless we had an Ash. Ash for MTP, we wouldn't lose. MTP, banish the March Hare to non-target. We left this up? What? What do we do about this? Don't we lose? What? Wait, what? I'm confused. What the? White Rabbit! You take no damage involving Link monsters that point to this card. No damage. And that's it. Oh my gosh. White Rabbit for game. Wow. Beautiful. That effect is almost never relevant. Insane. Abdullah DC'd for game 3. Unfortunately. Yeah. So everything was drawn out. They were ready to play. He DC'd, and that is the way. So that is really unfortunate. Let's hop into another match. Start this off with the Wishes for Eyes of Blue. No Ashen Sight to negate you. We do have Fluid Loss, which is not so good against Blue Eyes. We're going to use the Fluid Loss before they perform a Link 1 summon. Thus, we're going to instead Maiden of White set up the True Light. True Light set up the Majesty. And with that, we have how many forms of disruption? The Majesty cannot non-target pop any card in the field because we have no access to Blue Eyes nor a Blue Eyes in hand. We do have an Imperm, negate a monster, plus a Veiler, and backed up by a Maxi. Double Disrupt plus Maxi, was this enough? Sanjin is going to be met with a Maxi. You fool us me, I Maxi you. It's only fair. We can't Imperm stop the effect of searching. We do now have a Nibiru, so we're at triple disruption. Summon the Golem from the back row. This will give us 77. Now we have an Ash Blossom. Oh my gosh. We're now at 4 disruption out of nowhere. Veiler, negate, the Diablo Star. Now, I think a lot of people think that Wedju, Temple, or the whole Millennium play just gives us a free Doom Dragon. It does cost a monster from the hand, which we don't have. So we do not have that Doom Dragon for lethal. We're going to Ash Blossom, negate the Tales of the White Forest. Now, Deception, Sinful, tribute off a monster, search our deck for the Hallowed Azamina. We have Imperm, we have Nibiru. With the Hallowed Azamina, we're going to summon a Risala Go to go into our deck. We just turned on Majesty. Majesty is now a disruption with the Blue Eyes White Dragon we drew into. Imperm, negate the Risala Go. We have Majesty and Nibiru. Double disrupt. Holy draw. Let's go into Moon of the Closed Heaven. Nibiru tributing off the field before they go into a Requiem. With the Majesty ready for any potential follow-up play, Hallowed Azamina is going to add back to the hand by returning back the Risala Go as we then scoop it up to max freaking C. Damn. That was game one. Game one. The 2 games was from the previous duel. There we go. Let's hop into game 2. Engraver. We do have Veiler. So we're going to speed up until when the Veiler can and should be used. We also have Purge. Purge, negate the Tract. Now, Purge has turned off the ability for us to use Dark, Water, Fire monsters for the rest of the duel, aka no Ash. You rip into an Ash later in the duel, it cannot be used. Also, you have to know that they can't Little Knight you if they play it. They don't have Little Knight. They can't. Sadly, Typhon's now no good. It will still have the continuous effect of 3,000 attack or more not being activatable as we Veiler the Risala Go on summon, negate the effect of Search Mate. Beyond the Typhon being turned off, what else do we have turned off in the extra deck? That's pretty much it, as we have Requiem with no other forms of disruption going into the Crimson tier. Our disruptions are, we could go Woes and flip the field face down. We could flip the field face down again with Diabel. We could Sylvia negate. We could use the Apollo USA to negate monster effects made. We have 6 forms of disruption. And do we, oh boy, what do we do here? Let's see what happens. Barrel on summon gets negated by the Apollo. We still have the Maiden to give us a follow-up. We also have Sage, which could summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from the deck. To battle, we're going to Suicide into the Apollo. Sylvia going to return back the Diabel. We're going to activate the Woes. Woes will be flipping the barrel face down. Can a Sage target a face down monster? You have to target an effect monster, thus the Sage play is no good. Silvera, flip it. Non-target flip, taking this into game number 3. Very nice. Let's do it. We got True Light Pass. What the heck? That's bad. We do have Veiler and Ash. Double disruption. And this, I think, is a big reason why people are not happy with the current meta, being forced to play Lancia, and it's just a brick in your hand. You know what I hate about playing Magic the Gathering? Having too many lands or too little lands. Now everyone has to play a freaking land in their deck, and then you're not happy when you draw it against a deck where it's no good. We have Senjin into the back with the Millennium. We have Golem summon, normal summon, the Fool Lost. Let's go into Moon of the Closed Heaven. We do have Veiler for the sequence. Mulligan? Bro, you mulligan in Magic, and then your hand is always worse after the mulligan. Guaranteed. Let's Reborn back the Engraver. Lancia right now. Let's further go into a sequence. Sequence to the graveyard, Veiler, negate. We already used up our normal summon. Where do we go from here? To battle we go. Simply dealing 3950 damage to their face. They do have the ability to True Light set a card within the end phase. We could chain to the Little Knight banishing if they did not banish because of Lancia, that is. We're going to set the wishes into the back row. Now we have Maxi plus Little Knight. Little Knight's going to be our only form of disruption unless we're playing Paradise. I don't think we're playing Paradise, which would give us the ability to send a card from the field to the graveyard on their special summon. A lot of people don't want to play it because it's a brick when you draw it. We're going to get rid of the Blue Eyes, but if you're playing Fiendsmith Control, you definitely play it. Search for Sage and the Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons. We're going to chain Little Knight, banish away the Sage so that they can't bridge their way into the Link 1. The Link 1 would then be able to reborn a Blue Eyes, but they already have a Roar, as they know to search for a Veiler here since we already have the Maiden. We're going to chain Maxi. At 4,000 life, this is not an open field. They do have the ability to use Lacrima to reborn onto the field a Requiem, which could then summon Lacrima from the deck and defense, so it's at least one body plus 4,000 life. Do we take the Maxi challenge? You better, Bori. Let's go. Resolve it. Roar it. My Firefox is loading up. Load up, load up. Give me the music, come on. There we go. Neo Ultimate Blue Eyes equipped on the Blue Eyes White Dragon. 3,400 damage within the battle phase. We're going to True Light Reborn for a White Lightning lethal damage attack. But I told you he had a freaking ability of Lacrima to reborn a monster into the field. What the heck? 1,200 attack. Where's the Requiem? Lethal damage. Was Requiem not properly summoned? It can't be used in the battle phase. Bruh. Tyrant can attack every monster on the field. But, I mean, you would still want to do that, right? So you have to toggle on. It says your opponent is ending the main phase to go to the battle phase. And you go, oh, crap. You then activate Crimson Tier, summon the Requiem, then summon the Crimson in defense. Tyrant, this is no longer lethal. We had to do that play. By allowing them to enter the battle phase, we have lost it right then and there. End our turn. Why don't people play more than one Drill Beam? The card is amazing. It freaking negates and banishes. Well, it is a brick if you don't have the way to enable it. If we had more than one Drill Beam, this would be even more of a loss. Lancia, Drill Beam, both are dead here. Volcanics on summon. Pop in the Kirin to search our deck for Eponyx. That will trigger the Kirin to summon from the hand. We're going to Fool Loss, even though we're trying to summon from the hand, but this still fishes for a Call by the Grave or Crossout or Ash. So it is correct to use Fool Loss before Maxi, even though the Fool Loss is doing nothing. And now that we see they're not negating the Fool Loss, we then throw in the Maxi. Always try to bait your opponent. Ponix triggering. In the TCG, the Ponix would have been the lower chain link. It would have chained to the Kirin. But we're playing Master Duel, thus the trigger priority is different. Onyx on summon, activate a search for a Fire King Sanctuary. Ooh, we are not going for any crazy wham bam, thank you ma'am, lethal plays under Maxi and Fool Loss. Fire King Sanctuary setting up the Fire King Island. We're going to be popping a search for a Garunix, as we now Lancia in the end phase to ensure the Magnum Hut has something to banish. But they're still under the effect of Maxi. We're gonna get a free draw off of this, maybe drawing to a hand trap. We could not chain our own Magnum Hut to the Magnum Hut trying to banish, and now we get to search for our barrel to turn on the Drill Beam. Wait, we were the Maxi, so confusion here, they don't get to draw for that. Ponix at back. Now, what are our forms of disruption? We could pop a card in the field, we could negate a monster in the field, we could tribute off the field with Nibiru, we could then pop a card in the field with the Kirin off of a card being popped. We don't have access to the Arvata right now, but potentially we could, so we'll see what happens from there. Barrel getting negated by the impermanence. Negate. So if we could think of a way to get the Garunix out early with still having a way to trigger the Kirin, we have the Requiem. Requiem's going to jump off the summon from the deck into the Crimson Tier. When exactly do we Skyburn here? We could Skyburn pop the sequence to stop it from fusion summoning. We're going to banish away the Engraver with the Magnum Hut. We're going to use Serenir to chain banish our own Engraver to dodge your Magnum Hut from being summoned. We still have Skyburn and Kieran pop. Skyburn, pop in the Crimson Tier. Now, this could have gone into a Chaos Angel, which had been completely unaffected from monster effects, but then Skyburn, if we held onto it, could have been used onto the Chaos Angel. That's still enough to surrender, just like that. We had Maxi and Fualos. They just did not play hard into it and still resulted in our loss. Let's hop into game number 2. Get barrel in hand. You're correct. We could have potentially tried to force out a play while barrel was in hand first. That is correct. Requiem's going to jump off to something for the deck. Ash is not negating. We're going to instead wait for our negate on something else. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can detach 2 materials to then target a face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn. It must target, it negates the card on field, and it can only be activated in response to a card effect activation. And detach, target any face-up card, so it can be in response to something else activated, and you then target something else. So we have a negate, plus we have double wave King Caesar, special summon negate. We are going to be able to use the Baldrake to banish a monster from the extra deck. I'm not going to count the effect of banish as a form of disruption, but by tributing off the Druiswarm, it can considered be another form of disruption, but probably not, as the Druiswarm would trigger to send a monster from the field to the graveyard that's special summoned. So the ceiling is 5 disruptions, but most likely just going to be 4. 4 to 5. Imperm, negate the Wave King Caesar. Evolzar Lars, negate the negate. Not today, mates. Down to 4 disruption. Volcanics, activating. We're going to chain Kieran. We're going to chain the Wave King Caesar. This is interesting. You would be thinking that the Kieran will now trigger to pop a card in the field. But when we destroy it, the Volcanics, this is actually insane. The Volcanics is required to destroy a fire monster. Well, there's no fire monster if the Wave King Caesar negates and destroys that fire monster, which is now in the grave. So then the Volcanics resolves with no effect. The Kieran then on a separate chain would activate to cheat because it can't activate. There's no Fire King in the hand or in graveyard to reborn. So by chaining the Kieran with an open field Caesar, this is public knowledge. I mean, we got outplayed. We're going to have to chain the Skyburn. We have to Skyburn. If we don't Skyburn pop, then the Kieran is going to be no good on the separate chain. Yup. Does this stop the negate? It does not. We already detached by cost. We're still going to negate, but now the Kieran being destroyed will be able to trigger to reborn the Kieran. Thanks to the Skyburn. There we go. Volcanics also summon for the deck. Kieran reborn the Volcanics, non-target pop a card in the field. Taking out the Lars. We have the opportunity to try to set up with Baldrake and Druiswarm. So there's another form of disruption here because this is a Fiendsmith control deck. When we have a Crimson Tier plus the Requiem Engrave, we can send from the deck of Paradise, which will trigger on a special summon. Little Knight on summon would have been able to activate had we used an extra deck monster, which we did not. We're going to take out the Lacrima Crimson Tier. Druiswarm banishing our own princess here. We're now going to activate Lancia, and then we're going to chain the Baldrake to banish our own Lancia. Okay. Banish away. And now back to us. We're going to turn these 2 bodies right into an M7. M7 is going to target a monster on either player's field or graveyard to return it back to the hand. So let's activate M7, targeting our own card in grave after wiping out the Little Knight. We didn't want to activate anything while Little Knight was on the field. We're going to Magnum Hut banish away the Little Knight. We're at 2 summons so far under the effect of Nibiru. We are in main phase 2. We're using Zeus as a form of disruption to wipe away the field. We still have the Paradise to trigger on special summon. We can negate an interaction with the deck, and we could Zeus wipe away the field. Triple disrupt. Ponix on summons, going to search our deck for the Fire King Sanctuary. We're going to Ponix into a Typhon. This is it. Typhon is supposed to out the Zeus, but we're going to use the Paradise to out the Typhon before it outs the Zeus. Now Zeus will be able to wipe away the Sanctuary. Thus, you have no good play. activate the Sanctuary. We can wait for the Fire King Island. We're going to chain link higher to the Fire King Island, trying to pop a monster to search our deck. Wipe the field. Nicely done. We still have Ash. Fire King Island with the mandatory activation. Wipe away the field of monsters, which none is there. We're going to use the Crimson Tear to reborn back onto the field our Requiem. I'm curious if Memento is using Phantasme. Phantasme is what a lot of the Fiendsmith control players are now on, so that they could further draw into Lancia when a mouse player link summons, or special summons a link. To battle, we go 7,900 damage. Lethal damage. 1-1. Let's hop into game 3. Lancia continually being drawn and effectively doing nothing against Fire King. Ponix on summon, searching our deck for the Fire King Sanctuary. Sanctuary play a Fire King Island. Island's going to pop the Ponix, search for the Garunix. Garunix will be triggering to summon itself onto the field here. Pop from the deck a Volcanix, which will summon a level 8 from the deck, ending our turn. Quite simple. What are our forms of disruption? We do not want Garunix on the field. Garunix has to be in the graveyard to trigger. So if we use the Kirin to pop the Garunix, it's just not going to trigger. But what we have set up is the Fire King Sanctuary. If your opponent special summons, we could turn our 2 level 8s into the Hayang. Bro, triple Promethean, triple This is why they're never going to ban the Pot of E. Pot of Extravagance is farming players like me, also overcrafting one-ofs so that it does not randomly get banished. The Hayang, you have 3 Hayangs. Oh my Jesus, did you wail on this deck for a limited to 1 Pot of E? That is insane. The Hayang, on summon, will destroy all other monsters on the field, and then we're going to have the ability to trigger the Garunix to pop a card in the field. We also have the effect of Max C. Let's see how good this is. Ponix, add back from Engrave. We have Crimson Tear on summon, sent from the deck Engraver. We're going to Maxi before you link off into a Requiem. We're going to follow up with the Fiendsmith Tract, adding an Engraver to discard the Fiendsmith in Paradise. End our turn. Not even triggering the Fire King Sanctuary. Will this trigger the Fire King Sanctuary? Will we choose to trigger it? On the summon of Magnum Hut, we're going to possibly trigger the fire. Yes, we are. Hayang is here to non-target wipe away the entire rest of the field. Come forth, animation. Activate on summon, wipe away the field. We do have a Druid Swarm, we have double Bestial and a Lancia. Lancia is no good. The Bestials are also no good. We can at least Baldrake banish. We're gonna use our own Bestial to banish away the Crimson Tear. We're gonna Fire King Island, pop the Ponix here, grab the Arvata, and as soon as Arvata's summoned, we will now be able to negate a monster effect. We're not gonna shotgun the Arvata yet. We're gonna be searching for a Skyburn. Normal summon Arvata, now we can negate at least one of the Bestials. As we go to the battle phase with over 10,000 damage, we're going to allow the summon of the Baldrake, Skyburn, wipe away the Baldrake, trigger the Kirin to reborn a monster from Engrave, and now with the Arvata, we can negate the other Bestial summon if we want to. Garunix triggering, Druid Storm attempting to be summoned. Do we even bother negating this? We do. We don't have to worry about Nibiru. We are in the battle phase. Negate the Druid Swarm, thus destroying the Volcanix. Come forth, Garunix from the hand. We still have 10,000 damage on the field. Pure Fire King, lethal damage. Damn. Back to back. Sniffus making it to the top cut with no Snake Eye in sight. Regained it up. Regained is disruption against Maliss. During the turn player of Maliss, they try to banish and summon. On the higher chain link, Regained will return it back in the deck. Let's speed this up. Lurie is here into Requiem. Saying Fiendsmith control is no longer good is like saying a side deck is no longer good. The purpose of Fiendsmith control is you have to be predictive. The more predictive the meta is, the better Fiendsmith control is because you're pre-siding. If when Fiendsmith Control went down in value is when things were more erratic, where people were randomly playing Kristron, and then it was difficult to figure out the best way to play Fiendsmith Control because there's a chance that, you know, about a 10 to 20% chance they could maybe be a Kristron deck. But if everyone, for the majority of people you're playing against, are going to be Maliss, you could just formulate your main deck essentially being your side deck to hard counter them with Phantasme and Lancia. What we have here is 2 special summon negates, Ash negate and interaction with the deck. We have the Ghost Mourner on a special summon negate. We have the Druiswarm, which could banish from the graveyard, which will be a form of disruption. I think banishing a Gaddock will be best with the Druiswarm. Let's go. Lancia. We're going to start off with the Memento Horse. We're going to negate and destroy the horse. Not today. Now we could follow up with the Anguish or the Goblin. Anguish, activate, searching for the Sleepy. You could Veiler the Anguish, but you can't use the Ghost Mourner. Or now, Memento Fusion is going to be negated by Caesar. So let's read this interaction and ruling here. This negates the activation, so if the Memento Fusion states that only 1 copy can be activated, then you could use the other copy in your hand. But generally, any card that has more than 1 effect, they don't state cannot be activated once per turn, they say can only use. Even if the activation's negated, you still use the card. So let's read this. Only each effect can be used, and that does equate to being used, even though the activation was negated. So this Memento Fusion is no good. We still have Mourner, we still have Ash, we still have Druiswarm. We're going to Ash negate the other effect of Memento Fusion, attempting to pop and search. Negate. Now Sleepy is going to have the requirement of, did a Memento monster get destroyed this turn? Yeah, you destroyed my horse, so now I can special summon the Sleepy. Which then gets Ghost Mournered. No, we didn't want a Mourner. We can Mourner the Twin Dragon instead? Mourner? Okay, we waited for the fusion. Negate the Twin Dragon from popping and searching and reborning from engrave. What do we do from here? Anguish is going to be further trying to reborn the Goblin, as the Druiswarm banishes away the Goblin, thus no reborn for you. We're still going to attempt to pop. The Twin when popped was going to trigger to reborn. Goblin's going to be returned back on the deck to maybe draw into a hand trap. An extra form of disruption as we top into a Nibiru. Ain't no way. Let's turn these 2 bodies into an Anaconda. Anaconda is the 5th summon, so we are Nibiruing the field. No way. Wipe the field. Druiswarm triggering, send the token to the graveyard. I'm impressed with how many plays Memento had through that many forms of disruption. We fully played through double special summon negate and Ash, a Mourner, but it only took the 5th form of disruption to stop Memento. That is insane. 5 disrupt newly top decked Nibiru required to stop them from further playing. Off the top of the deck, we have Lubellion, Engraver's going to be reborning, and, well, Memento Fusion's still good, right? It can't do anything. It cannot use the graveyard unless a Memento this turn was destroyed. Here's our first play, which we are going to Veiler, thus we don't want them to activate the Chain of Bone Party to dodge the Veiler. Preemptively negating, we're gonna Horse, and then use the Moonlit Chill. This resolving tells me we're gonna go into an Apollo. So on the resolution, we have to Nibiru. Activate the sheep, reborn, Nibiru. Otherwise, there will be an Apollo. I said it. Let's return 5 engrave. Come forth, creation. Oh boy. I didn't have Nibiru, you just a great field, mate. All right, let's go to the next one. And this hand sucks. Can't Bone Party, can't Fuse. We have 0 plays. We have the Magnum Hut, banishing from Engraved Lubellion, making sure to chain the Maxi to an effective special summon. We're not going to ash that because we don't plan on special summoning too much beyond this. We could special summon the Lubellion from the hand, but you choose to not do so as we just search for a Baldrake in the end phase. Thank you. We have Full Loss also. Reinforcement of the army. We don't know this, but if we ash this, they'd have no play, but they could call with the Gravefinger our ash anyway. Grabbing the Darkblade. Valor, negate the Darkblade. We're still gonna follow up Bone Party, pop it. Ash, negate it. Call with the Grave, finger it. Finger, T2 Scars, Ash. Negate. As we now successfully pop our Dark Blade to summon from the deck. Now, you can surmise from this that if they're popping a card on the field, they probably don't have other mementos in hand. Possibly, and you want to maybe use that knowledge for any other plays. We have the Anguish on Summon Search in our deck for the Horse. Now, let's activate the Horse, chain the Maxi to the Horse, draw per special summon. We're going to chain Memento Fusion. We can use the Graveyard if we want to. We're going to use Baldrake to banish away the Darkblade. Thus, we're forced to fuse. You have to fuse with the Anguish and the Horse. You can't call it back. We're going to fuse not with the Horse. We're going to go into a Guardian Chimera. Nicely done. Thus, the Horse still comes out. Guardian Chimera is going to pop one, draw two. Baldrake is going to banish you away. Goodbye to the Chimera as we still get drawn and popping. The Memento Fusion has already been used. We're going to use the other effect of the fusion to pop our Horse to search our deck. We are under the effect of Max C, so we don't want to get too crazy here. Just set the Memento Fusion. We're going to return the Bone Party back in the field. Now, the Memento Fusion is dead unless we get to successfully Bone Party pop the Darkblade. If we top deck an Ash, it stops both cards. We did not. Thus, we could turn on the Fusion to at least go into a Creation King to pop a card in the field, or multiple cards. We're going to be banishing away the Anguish. We have these, so we pop, we summon, we'll have at least 3 bodies. Before the Lubellion sets up the Regain, we're going to summon the Anguish. We now have 2 bodies in grave, plus a body on field and a Sleepy in hand. We're going to Memento Fusion, chain the Maxi to the Fusion, and Sarah Near is going to chain banish the Darkblade here. Thinking that they now don't have a way to summon the Creation King, but we do know there's a Sleepy in hand, so it's actually public knowledge that we could still go into it. As we banish, I should say return back into the deck the Memento Horse to go into our Creation King to give us the ability to pop a card on the field. We can pop the Regained. We could have popped the Lubellion before it set up the Regained. We're now going to Serenir, send from the deck here a Lubellion. We're now going to use the Creation King to instead pop the Closed Heaven to stop them from going into a Fiendsmith Requiem. But they could still go into the Requiem because they had the Fiendsmith track into Lurie into the Requiem. What the hail? With nothing from Maybeck whatsoever, does Scar have lethal damage? If we play Egnumde, we have lethal. Could send from the deck Engraver, Reborn the Engraver, turn 2 bodies into the Sequence, fuse of the Graveyard into the Lacrima, Reborn, turn Lacrima and Sequence into an Egnumde potentially, or we're doing some Wallow play. What the Wallow? 25, 37, then Wallow, steal a monster from their graveyard to then attack for game? What the? Burn for 1200, thank you for the Creation King. Lethal damage. Are you ready? Begin. Pressure Planet, searching our deck for the Unicorn. We have no disruption whatsoever as they, with Unicorn, grab the Birth. We're going to Tract, grab Lurie. Wow, we lost. What the hell? When do we imperm? Engraver searching for the Tract. Lacrima burned for 1200 as we pass. Now, what are our forms of disruption? We have Ash, Imperm, Little Knight, triple disruption. We don't have the Crimson Tier Paradise potentially. Let's search for Diablo Star in the draw phase to play around a Droll. So I was incorrectly saying that just Imperm would rise in usage. Droll will also go up. Droll and Imperm on the release of Ryzeal, up, up, up. So you do want to make plays around Droll within the draw phase. Grab a Birth. We're going to send the Snake-Eyed Diablo to summon the Diablo Star. To battle, we go, that's it. Well, Lancia also goes down. The usage of Maliss will go down to maybe at least half of what it is, which it's about 40%, will maybe be around 20% usage. Original Sinful, send the Unicorn, Ash, negate, and we still have Impermanence Mate, and we do have follow-up plays with the Engraver. Gianna, find my 6 AM video, please. Wanted Seeker, return back the Original Sinful, drawing into an Ash. We have the Birth, reborning back on the field, the Unicorn. As we now use the Birth to normal summon Diablo Star without tributing. Setting up the Original Sinful, further going into Moon of the Closed Heaven. Oh my Jesus, what the heck happened here? Absolute insanity. Some for the deck, a Crimson Tear, Engraver, Reborn, returning back the Moon. Further going into the sequence, Fuse of the Graveyard, Imperm, negate. We still have the Original Sinful. Promethean Princess is now here, reborn back the Snake-Eyed Diablo Star, now making a Hida. Hida could steal a monster from the opponent's graveyard, stealing the Sprint, as we turn both bodies into an Apollo USA. With Apollo, we now end our play back to you with a double monster negate plus the Ash. We could just negate that with the Apollo. Negate. From Engrave, we still have Engraver, which, again, Apollo, negate. Apollo's great. Yes, I love Apollo. When Apollo is summoned, according to the win rate when summoned, the win rate jumps up to 78%. Almost 80. 78.8 mate. We have nothing left to activate in the follow-up, thus we get 2-0'd. Too much. We have Magician's Soul off the top of the deck. Let's get to it. Lancia in the standby phase. I was going to follow up with the Primera, search our deck for the stand-up Centurion. We could draw and Lockbird here. You could not further add from the deck, which would be your Synchro. Synchro Search is now turned off. We have also the other Centurion that draws a card. We're going to be reborning from the back row our Gargoyle as we turn these two bodies into the Auxilla. Auxilla with no search. Gargoyle is going to be adding itself from Engrave back to our hand as we set an end. We're now going to Auxilla, set into the back row. What are our forms of disruption? We use 2 hand traps, and after 2 hand traps, they still have the ability to banish a monster we control. They could synchro into a Blazar, which can essentially negate anything through the Crimson Dragon summon. They have Ash negate an interaction with the deck. They have a Nibiru to tribute off the field. Quadra disruption, 4 disruption versus 4 cards in our hand. We have a play plus a follow-up plus a follow-up plus we can negate a hand trap. It pretty much equates to exactly what they have. All 4 cards are good here. We're going to be firing off the Primera and Trudea, which we do have the field spell to then synchro them into a form of disruption. Let's resolve the Underground, banish the Dormouse. Dormouse, come forth. We have the stand-up Centurion plus the Primera. We're going to call by the grave, finger the Primera in grave, no search for you. So we chainlink blocked the stand-up Centurion to ensure that it does not get ogred, I guess, but the Auxilla still protects it, right? Face-up cards cannot be popped. We have Crimson Dragon to go into the Blazar. Let's target the Auxilla, into the Blazar we go. Negate anything, plus banish, plus negate an interaction with the deck. Nibiru, we used up one of them. We have negate the summon of the White Rabbit. March Hare, banish the White Rabbit here. White Rabbit, reborn back. Now, when is it going to be best to use Nibiru or Ash? We have GWC, which could reborn back the Dormouse. We have the Splash Mage, reborn, and now we could choose to Nibiru. Nibiru up the entire field, knowing that they have a face-down GWC, only activatable by banishing a Maliss here, and now they have the Blazar Dragons to negate whatever potential play they may have. Dormouse is back from the field. GWC will not be banishing on its activation. We have no other forms of disruption, and just like that, it took about 3 forms of our disrupt to stop Maliss from making their plays. We're going to send the field spell to summon the Gargoyle, play another field spell, discard to set up into the back row the Trudea, summon from the back row. As we now send to the back row in a try. A try could draw a card if we had an Emblema engrave. We have the Crimson Dragon to summon another level 12 Synchro, which will be our second copy of the Cosmic Blazar. Double 4K on the field. And lethal damage. We can negate the GWC with the Blazar. To game 2 we go. Well done for Centurion. 4 disruption after being 2 hand traps used on them, but the Lancia, of course, was not really doing much. Let's keep on going. We're gonna start this off with a Gold Sark. Banish from the deck our Dormouse. Dormouse will banish from the deck. Nothing as the Veiler negates. Now we can chassis into the Link Decoder. This can be a bit hairy here. We are on summon 1, 2, 3, 4. If we trigger the chassis, we play into a Nibiru. You get blown out. Instead, you can, depending on if you play more than one chassis, you could just not trigger the chassis cat here and instead trigger it later in the turn so that you don't get hit by a Nibiru. You can argue that Nibiru is not as relevant, but bro, your turn is over if they Nibiru. That's it. But, you know, we took the gamble, and it paid off. Red Ransom, into Link Decoder, Chain Link Block, and Ash. Let's scoop it up. 1-1. But that is if we were going first. We're just going to full loss in the draw phase. We have the Brand Regained, which is a disruption against Maliss. We're going to set up the Trudea, which you don't draw for me summoning from the back row. Trudea setting up the Primera. Primera is going to summon and search our deck for the Wake Up Centurion. Only while we have a monster in the back row does the Wake Up Centurion summon a token, and we now go into the draw 1 for Full Loss. Auxilia search the deck. Now I have Impulse. Impulse. So earlier I was saying you could possibly Chain Link block this from a Ghost, an Ogre that is, but more importantly, you want to Chain Link block this from an Impulse, especially against Maliss. So before you would put the Primera on a lower Chain Link to stop an Ash Blossom to stop your follow-up search, but no more. If you do not Chain Link block the field spell, you are not playing Centurion correctly, especially against Maliss. Auxilia putting up the Primera. So now we have to take a gamble. The gamble is, do we gamble on them not Chain Link blocking the stand-up Centurion, or do we just impulse the monster summoning from the back row instead? And of course we get hit by the Lancia, which what does Lancia do? Makes this dead, dead, and dead, dead, dead. We have 5 dead cards in our hand, and we can maybe impulse the field spell or Primera. Wow. It's over. There you go. Set Dormouse, Primera, Search, Stand-Up Centurion. Oh boy. Well, it's been fun. Impulse, negate the Trudea, stay in the back row, please. Ghost Spell can be used against Maliss and Underground. It cannot be used against a Gold Sark. Let's speed this up. Haga, just finish up the duel, yes? Ghost Spell negating the March Hare. Even though there's nothing in the graveyard to banish, there possibly could be on the resolution of it. We're now going to make Legatia as we Chain Link block with the Gargoyle, add back, draw, and we're now going to the Stand-Up Centurion, discard, put in the back row, a try, draw a card. Oh my Jesus. Wipe away the Dormouse, open field with over 8,000 damage after attacking over that monster. Damn. Lancia do be putting in work. And this is why we saw earlier in the event today, we saw Abdullah playing Signet Mining. Signet Mining, search for a Code of Soul. So you can normal the Dormouse, special the Code of Soul. You can go into a Splash Mage, Reborn, Red Ransom, set a Mirror. You can then, on the opponent's turn, Mirror, negate a monster by banishing. Then you're going to want to, with the Red Ransom being banished, come back, banish a White Rabbit, come back, set an MTP, banish a White Rabbit, non-target banish a card in the field. That's at least 2 disruption through them still using Lancia against you if you have more forms of mitigation against it to at least get 2 bodies in the field. And that's why you don't use Lancia in the main phase, because that exact play I outlined would have been available had they used their Lancia in the main phase to then chain the March Hare. So 2 pass, okay. The impulse turns off Earth, Light, and Wind. So, well, we have Earth, Earth, and Wind. If we impulse in the hand, our entire other monsters in hand would be completely turned off. We have Engraver searching our deck for the Tract, a good time to hit them potentially with a Droll or Max C. So what we're doing here is within the window of Droll being activatable, we're activating Max C to see if they will finger our C, Ash our C, or cross out Designate, and then we'll chain Droll and Lockbird to our Max C getting negated. Otherwise, what happens is the Max C resolves and we're happy with that, which is exactly what happens. We have Saphira getting negated by the Ghost Spell because it does have the opportunity to add from the graveyard the Ritual Monster. Negate. Triple Tactics Talent, we're going for the draw 2. And now we're going to Fiendsmith Tract, add a Crimson Tear, discard the Engraver here. We're going to use the Magnum Hut to banish from Engrave the Saphira. Thank you for our free draw. Magnum Hut, activate a search within the end phase. We have Chaos Angel on summon, banish a card from the field. Say goodbye to the Impulse. To battle we go, 3,500. How will Maliss deal with the Chaos Angel? MTP is a good option as it's unaffected from monster effects otherwise. Dormouse, activate Max C. We do have a cross-out Designate, which we're not even activating, mate. Banish the Chessie, summon the Chessie. Chessie, banish from our hand a White Rabbit here. White Rabbit trigger to summon itself onto the field. Why? We're going to Droll, that's why. We Droll instead of cross-out, saving cross-out for something else instead. Now, I'm going to check if Victinium plays Super Poly himself. Does he play Super Poly? Now, you can't chain to the Super Poly, but you could, if you're a wizard, you could cross out Designate before committing to the field to negate Super Poly. Of course, not the situation here. Let's further link this up into a link decoder. Let's link this all up into the Red Ransom. Red Ransom is not going to be able to search due to Droll, summon the link decoder. Now we're going to fuse up your field, discard a card, come forth and summon our Earth Golem, now making it impossible for you to win this turn. Well, we do have an Impulse back, Nibiru, we have Imperm, Triple Disruption. We have the Nadir Servant getting an Entis Engraver to pop a card in the field. GWC is going to chain Reborn from Engraver Banishment. Red Ransom's back on the field. Activate to search our deck for an Underground next turn, if there even is a next turn. Maximus banishing the Entis. Impulse, negate, and destroy because we have a GWC Engrave. You do have a normal summoned low. Return 2 spells engraved to summon our Sarvis. Low is going to activate to Imperm, negate, no setup of the barrier. We're going to chain Sarvis to summon from the deck. We potentially have a Nibiru play this turn, but now there's a Skull Guardian which would be able to negate. 4,100 on the field, 9,950 damage. Take out the Red Ransom. That's it. Why do we take no damage this turn? What happened? 23. Oh, it was at the same exact attack. It didn't get boosted because it has to be something for the extra deck. And the Chaos Angel was protecting it from battle. Thus, we still had lethal damage. Let's hop into game number 2. We have Underground. If there were a Ghost Spell, that would have ended this turn. We're going to banish a Dormouse. Dormouse activates. We do have Super Poly for the clapback to fuse up with their field. If we look at the extract to see what they could fuse into, they're not playing Triff, which could have fused up into 3 Darks, which I was thinking we had a really good opportunity to do so in the previous duel. We do have Earth Golem, which will take the Apollo USA plus another Cyburst to fuse them away. Let's speed this up. GWC, banish the Red Ransom, Reborn the White Rabbit, trigger the Red, summon to then banish from the deck the Chessie, Reborn, banish the Mirror, draw 2, banish from Engrave, search another March Hare. We're now going to further link this up and do a link decoder. Turn all 3 bodies into the Cryptor. We have link decoder, Reborning, March Hare, banish from Engrave the Chessie, turn these 3 bodies into a White Binder. White Binder is going to banish 2 cards Engrave, add back the March Hare, Reborn the Cryptor here. And then we're going to use the White Binder to set the GWC. We're going to use the Cryptor to banish away the White Binder, returning back the Mirror. We're going to draw a card with the White Binder. As we further turn these two bodies into a Firewall Dragon, set and pass, what are our forms of disruption? We get Duraswarm Banish a low, which is a very good play. We do have Nibiru Retributed off the field. We have Ash Blossom to gain interaction in the deck. We can non-target banish with an MTP. We can non-target banish with the Cryptor. We could also imperm negate a monster. We could White Binder banish in their graveyard, which could be a good play. Let's say on the activation of a ritual, you reborn the White Binder. You'll be on the higher channeling to the low activating grave to try to reborn back. You then banish it. And then we also have the Firewall Dragon, which could bounce monsters from either field or graveyard back to the hand. Let's see what we could do through 8 disruption. I think I counted the thing right. I think so. 8. Blessing of the Voiceless. Summon our Crimson Tier. Send from the deck Engraver here. There's no way you're on 40 cards. You are. How do you have room for Nadir Servant, Super Poly, and Fiendsmith? Maxi Chain to the Requiem. We're going to call by the grave. Finger the Maxi. Now, currently the Firewall Dragon is not co-linked, otherwise it could have Chain to return the Maxi back to the hand to dodge the call by the grave. What do we have? We have Fiendsmith Engraver. From the Requiem now equipping onto the Engraver, we're going to use the Engraver to send the Firewall Dragon. We're going to imperm, negate the Engraver. Notice how we didn't try to make a White Binder play to try to banish any of the cards in the graveyard yet. We're still not doing so. We're going to allow the Engraver to reborn because we have Duraswarm instead. Banish away the Engraver, attempting to reborn. Now, for our follow-up, we're going to triple Tactics Talent. Go for the Draw 2, which shows Desperation. Negate. We do have Nadir Servant. We have already used up our normal summon, unfortunately. Nadir Servant, send Malong to grab a Maximus, which will trigger Malong to return the Firewall back to the extra deck. Maximus banishing the Malong. And now we're going to march here because the Maximus is not a trigger effect. It needs an open game state to activate. This is our opportunity to disrupt the Maximus before it sends 2 extra deck monsters to the grave. Banishing it away with the Cryptor. And just like that, we're going to GWC within the end phase. Reborn back the White Binder banished from either player's graveyard as we banish away our White Rabbit, summon, send to the back row, MTP, non-target banish away, the Super Poly. Goodbye, reborn back the Binder, draw a card. This is what happens when you don't have Lancia. Let's finish him. Cryptor, non-target banish away the Engraver here. To battle we go, enough for lethal. Game 3. Dies of cringe. Want to make more board-breaking decks? Well, Ryzeal is essentially what you're asking for. It's one of the most powerful board-breaking plays without committing to a normal summon, being able to negate any card in the field that's face up, or you could pop a back row when the Valen comes out, which I have no idea when that would come out. Crimson Tier, send the Engraver here. Let's reborn back the Engraver. Let's turn both bodies into a sequence. And we now end our turn as we search for a Sarvis in the end phase of the Magnum Hut. What's going to happen is on a summon, which could be a normal or special, right? If a non-ritual is normal or special summoned, we get to summon the Sarvis, which will then negate a Link summon. So we have to some way navigate through that play as the Sarvis negate and banishes whatever Link we summon. Now, banishing is good, right? Well, not if the summon is negated. You negate the Red Ransom summon, it gets banished, it does not come back, it does not trigger. And in addition to the Sarvis negate, we also have a negate with the Skull Guardian, and we cannot target any like monster or card effects because of the barrier of the Voiceless. So what do? We link off and do a Lingaribo, which will trigger the Blessing to summon the Sarvis. Whoa, we summoned you instead. What's so good about this? This states that when your opponent activates a spell card or effect, you can negate the effect. Okay. Low, come back. Low is going to be setting up the trap. The trap could give us a play potentially to get poppin'. We're going to use the Little Knight to target the trap. Storm's going to target the Magnum Hut, as any other monster is not targetable. We're going to use the effect to summon a Voiceless onto the field, which could be the Sarvis. This Sarvis will now be waiting for the opponent to activate something to then summon the Sarvis, which gives us the ability to negate a summon. Now that you activate the Dormouse, we are going to return back, summon the Sarvis from the deck, and if you link 3, you're done. Or we can summon the Sarvis from the hand instead. I guess we don't play another copy. Possibly we don't play 2. White Rabbit is here. So you tell me, how do we out the Sarvis? This Sarvis is not targetable by card effects, and if you link summon anything that's worthy of negating, we just completely stop the summon. Negate and destroy the White Rabbit. Well, that'll be negated. That's great. Negate, negate. Banish, you're banished, you don't trigger, you don't come back, you're not properly summoned, you activate a spell, I negate the spell, March Hare can then banish from Engrave, but the Dormouse has not been banished yet. That can be a play, definitely. We have the way. Maybe this is it. Victinium with the clap back. We're gonna link this off into a Splash Mage. Splash Mage is gonna further reborn a monster from Engrave. Even going through a red ransom commitment, we could still make a White Binder. White Binder on summon banish from either player's graveyard. Say goodbye to the prayers and Engraver. March Hare, add back to the hand here. Now the White Rabbit has already been banished, unfortunately. We're going to set into the back row our GWC. GWC banish the White Binder to summon from Engrave our White Rabbit. We can't summon the Red Ransom. We're now going to draw another card here. Very important. We draw into an Ash Blossom as we now go into an Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is going to banish from Engrave to pop a card in the field without targeting, taking out the Blessing. Now we're going to Access Code Talker, banish the Splash Mage. This is our final pop. Without the Blessing and no barrier, we're going to go in onto the Skull Guardian. Now what do we have from here as they search for a ritual spell in the end phase? We just have Ash. The March Hare can banish the White Binder. White Binder can then we can still have MTP, right? No, we don't have MTP actually. Otherwise, we could have set up MTP. So we're gonna have to use the White Binder as a form of disruption by banishing from their graveyard, which I don't think is gonna be good enough. Otherwise, we pretty much just have Ash. We have a banish plus an Ash. Decent effort, I think so. Return the spells back in the deck to summon the normal Sarvis back on the field. We're gonna March Hare, banish the White Binder here. White Binder, come back. And this is gonna be our very important banish. Banishing away 3 cards in their graveyard. Sarvis is going to chain to summon a Sarvis from the deck. Ash is going to negate, and just like that, mate, we're down to 0 disruption. At 4,400 life, we have to survive this turn. Let's see if Todd has what it takes to win this duel, mate. Let's go. Search for a Skull Guardian from the deck. Let's go. Man, Firefox is slow. Skull Guardian is here. Low triggering from Engrave as we chain link block our search. Our negate is now activatable, mate. Low comes to me from the deck. Low activate to play a barrier. Blessing is searched as the Blessing is now back on the field, recycling back a banished card to come back to us Radiance. Normal summon the Low, trigger the Blessing to ritual summon into a Sarvis. Further going into a Relinquish Anima to give the Access Code Talker the good suck. Sucking it up to 2,300 attack. Dynamundo is here on summon. We're going to now return back on the deck the March Hare. We couldn't target the Binder here. Suicide into the White Binder. Open field. Lethal damage. Voiceless countering Maliss. Sarvis negate too good, mate. Untargetable. The Pendulum Graph Dragon also negating Spell Trap was really good. 2-1 victory. The age-old question of when do we Nibiru against Memento? We're not going to negate the Anguish with the Ash. We are not going to negate the Horse with the Ash. Gaddock's going to be reborning. Gaddock's going to add back Engrave the Sleepy. Sleepy's going to summon, activate to fuse into now we Ash. Activate the Creation King, negate with the Ash. Now, can you always hold Ash of the Creation King? They could sometimes chain-link block it with the cross-shape chain-link block it. They could chain-link block it if Gaddock is used for the fusion summon and was not already triggered when being sent to the grave. It would then be a higher chain-link. But it does not matter because we have a Call by the Grave, finger their Ash. And that is a double turn negate. Our Ash, again, will not be usable. Now, on our own turn, it would have been good to use it against a Bone Party, potentially, or even a Max C if they had one. We're going to Creation King, banish to search our deck for the Memento field spell. When do we Nibiru? We're going to fuse with the Graveyard Twin. Twin is going to pop a Memento from the hand or field. Now we're taking the gamble that maybe they don't have a Memento in hand to pop. We can use the Grand Breakout to search our deck for a Goblin to pop the Goblin in hand to ensure that we could search for 2 Mementos. We could pop the Horned Dragon to then pop 2 cards on the field. That's 1 disruption. We can use the Memento Fusion to potentially go into a Guardian Chimera to pop multiple cards. We can Reborn the Creation King to pop multiple cards. We could set up a scenario where we have the Anguish possibly searching for a Mace to take control of a monster. I would say this is about 4 disruption. We do have Super Poly though. Now, in order to Super Poly, we're going to need 2 monsters with the same attribute. There's an Earth, there's a Dark that doesn't work right now. Let's see what's good. Pressure Planet, search for a Fender that can't be normal summon because of a Nibiru on the field. Okay, let's take out the Horned. They lost that disruption as we further go into Moon of the Closed Heaven. Moon into Requiem. Requiem come forth and summon from the deck into the Crimson Tier. We're going to be triggering the creation here. Reborning back in the field the Horned Dragon. We have Engraver, Engraver now attempting to reborn, returning back the Moon. Now, we're gonna Bone Party, pop the Horn, summon an Anguish, which we're now gonna trigger the Horn and the Anguish, search for a Mace and pop 2 cards on the field, taking out the Crimson Tier, taking out the Engraver here, as we also reborn the Acheron. And we still have the ability to take control of your Fenrir. So you may be thinking, oh great, I could summon Fenrir. Yeah, your Fenrir is my Fenrir. If we were to, wait, we lost our creation, so never mind to that play. We don't have Mace to take control, but we could just pop the Fenrir with the Creation King if we care to. We're gonna search for a tier limit Kashtira. Super Poly, discard Super Poly to fuse away with their field into our Dragostapelia. What the heck happened here? We're going to be activating to reduce your level to 1. Little Knight is here on summon, banish away the Grand Breakout. We missed on the Memento Fusion. Sleepy is now going to be chaining to the tier cash, attempting to mill 3. Big gamble here. We are activating to mill 3. We need to mill a tier limit to stay in this duel. 1, 2, 3. Sleepy, chain fuse. Little Knight chain banish the Sleepy, so you can't fuse. It cannot fuse with the graveyard. We're going to chain Memento Fusion to further fuse with the field and or grave. It all comes down to this random mill. You have a Dragostapelia, which can negate a Kick Cow on the Fusion Summon. And the Little Knight can't dodge the Dragostapelia since it already activated. Banish. Using nothing. We have a Destrudo. What the Destrudo? You have to target a level 6 or lower monster you control. Well, we don't have a level 6 or lower monster unless we reborn our Engraver. Engraver is requiring another Light Fiend. We have already used the effect to reborn the Engraver, so we whiffed the mill. That mill was trash. Dragostapelia within the end phase with the toggle on is, I think with the toggle on auto, it also would have worked here. We had the Memento Fusion to pop a card we control. Little Knight would have been negated, searching for Memento Fusion, thus we scoop it up. Crazy duel we have there. The tier cash very much needed to trigger a Fusion Summon, and it did not. Grab a Lurie, discard the Lurie. It's gonna be more of a coin toss, dice roll format. Crimson Tier, send from the deck here, Engraver. Let's reborn back the Engraver by returning back the Lurie. Let's further go into a sequence. They have no disruption whatsoever, so we're going all in. Let's make our Lacrima Fiendsmith, and now it gets exciting. Pilgrim Reaper with the Mill 5. Mill 5, Whoop. What do we got here? We got Sharon. We have the Rhino Heart. We do have a tier cash in hand to discard or the Heartbeat. Let's get popping off. We're not going to activate the Rhino because we're going to return it back for the Kick Cow. Negate a summon. Negate a monster effect up to 3 times. Flip a monster face down and trigger a fusion to be another form of disruption. So the meta noise is double disruption. Baron to floor, negate anything. That's 7 disruption, but do we have anything in graveyard to make it more? 7 on top of that. We have Keldo, which I would say against Memento is a form of disruption, even though we don't have a field spell to trigger, obviously. So this would be 8 disruption. On top of 8 disruption, we have 8. Good luck, mate. You do have Call by the Grave. What do we finger? We are going to Anguish on summon, activate to search our deck. Apollo negate. We're going to chain the Bone Party mate, which the Rukal can negate. Rukal does negate. Negate the Bone Party. So we had 8. Now we go down to 6. We need the Rukal in field to activate the meta noise. So we do want to finger the Rukal. We do have Baron to floor. We have to negate the finger. Negate. Now down to 5 disruption left. Keldo, Apollo, flip down, and fuse. We're going to use the Memento Fusion to pop a monster, search our deck for a Bone Party. Now, Bone Party against Rukal. Did Rukal negate the activation? It did negate the activation. Can only 1 be activated. You can only use each effect once per turn. You used it, even though the activation was negated, thus another copy is no good. We're going to Keldo, return back in grave, say goodbye to the Anguish, Sleepy, and Bone Party mate. We're now down to 4 forms of disruption. Does that stop the Memento Fusion? Yes, it does, as we wanted to fuse the grave. We don't have enough bodies to now fuse with. Scooping it up, so if you were skeptical about the Keldo actually being a form of disruption, it definitely was. Begin. Anguish on summon. We are ready with the Super Poly play. Now, the Sharon requires another monster in hand to discard to then summon and mill 3. Are you ready? We have the Ash negate the Bone Party. We have the Apollo, which cannot be fused with anything right now. It has triple monster negate. They can pop multiple cards with the horn being popped, but if we negate the pop, then maybe they're going to be struggling to even trigger that effect. They have the Call by the Grave to finger. They're going to be able to have the Mace to take control of a monster. We could fuse into a Guardian Chimera. I think we also have a Super Poly. I think we have a 9th disruption if there's a Creation King in graveyard that was properly summoned. 9 disruption versus 6 cards. Does not seem like a fair duel to me. Let's go. First, we set up the Scream. We have a monster, so we can activate the Sharon. Eating off 1 negate from the Apollo. Now down to 8. Normal Sharon, trigger Scream to mill 3. Ash negate. I called out Ash the disruption, right? Or is this 10 disruption? Grief, summon from the deck. Mace, take control of the Sharon. Super Polymerization, discard Super Poly to fuse with either side of the field. This fusion summon play will be the Sharon plus the Horned Dragon to go into a Moo Dragon. So we're at, 5 disruption left? We're going to summon Tier Cash, send Tier Cash. We're going to trigger the Sharon and the Tier Cash here. We're going to mill 2. We chain link block the Sharon from being negated by the Apollo. We're going to Call by the Grave, finger the Sharon. Absolutely unfair. What the hell was that? We properly chain link blocked the Apollo with the Tier Cash, and it didn't matter. Unfreaking believable. We're now going to trigger to summon the Creation King to pop a card in the field. Moo Dragon's going to declare Earth. Why not? Say goodbye to the Apollo. And that, unfortunately, is the end. We do have an Ash to negate the Bone Party, attempting to summon from the deck. Negate. This would also trigger the field spell from Reborning. We can only use the Memento Fusion within the main phase. And that is that 2-1 victory. Memento clapping up Tier Lament. But Umbra, I was very much impressed with your chain link block there, but there's nothing you can do about the finger. Thank you, YouTube, for watching the top 16. In the next video, we're going to be advancing into the top 8, top 4 grand finale and top deck lists. I'll see you there.